Hello best learners, this is Mustafa here at Learn with the Best, and we've got an amazing video for you here today. We're going to be looking at Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power. Law number 26, keep your hands clean by making others do the dirty work for you. First, I'm going to define the law for you, and then we'll look at a few stories from the book. And finally, we'll end the video with an analysis on how you can wield this law for your own purposes. So here's the law. You must always seem civil and efficient. Your hands are never soiled by mistakes and nasty deeds. Maintain such a spotless appearance by using others as scapegoats and cat's paws to disguise your involvement. So real quick here before we get started, a cat's paw is basically a helper. Someone who you can get to do your dirty work for you without them realizing that they're doing that dirty work, all the while you're keeping your own hands clean. So once upon a time, around 100 years ago, in the late 1920s, a civil war broke out in China as the Nationalist and Communist parties battled for control of the country. In 1927, Chiang Kai-Shek, the nationalist leader, vowed to kill every last communist, and over the next few years, he nearly succeeded. In 1934, he forced the enemy into the Long March, a 6,000-mile retreat from the southeast to the remote northwest, through harsh terrain in which most of the enemy ranks were decimated. In late 1936, Chiang planned one last offensive to wipe out all of the communists, but he was caught in a mutiny. His own soldiers captured him and turned him over to the communists. Now he could only expect the worst. Meanwhile, the Japanese began an invasion of China, and to Chiang's surprise, instead of killing him, the communist leader Mao Zedong proposed a deal. The communists would let him go and would recognize him as commander of their forces if only he would agree to fight alongside them against their common enemy, the Japanese. Chiang had expected torture and execution, but now he was presented with this option. He could not believe his apparent good fortune. How soft these communists had become, he was thinking. Without having to fight a rearguard against the communists, he knew that he could beat the Japanese. And then a few years down the line, he was thinking he would turn around and destroy the communists with ease. He had nothing to lose and everything to gain by agreeing to the communists' terms. So then the communists and the nationalists, together, after several years, they succeeded in evicting the Japanese. Now, however, Chiang finally understood what Mao had really planned. His own army had met the brunt of the Japanese artillery, was greatly weakened, and would take a few years to recover. Meanwhile, the communists had not only avoided any direct hits from the Japanese, but they had used the time to recoup their strength and to spread out and gain pockets of influence all over China. As soon as the war against the Japanese ended, the civil war within China started up again, but this time the communists enveloped the weakened nationalists and slowly beat them into submission. The Japanese had served as the communists' cat's paw, inadvertently plowing the fields for the communists and making possible their victory over the nationalists. So how do we interpret this? Most leaders, after having taken a powerful enemy like Chiang Kai-Shek as a prisoner, would have likely killed him. But in doing so, they would have lost the chance that Mao was able to exploit. Without the experienced Chiang as the leader of the nationalists, the fight to drive the Japanese out may have lasted much longer and with much more devastating results. Mao was far too clever to let anger spoil the chance to kill two birds with one stone. In essence, Mao used two cat's paws to help him attain total victory. First, he cleverly baited Chiang into taking charge of the war against the Japanese. Mao knew the nationalists led by Chiang would do most of the hard fighting and would succeed in pushing the Japanese out of China. The Nationalists then were the first cat's paw used to evict the Japanese. But Mao also knew that in the process of leading the war against the invaders, the Japanese artillery and air support would decimate the conventional forces of the Nationalists, doing damage it could take the Communists decades to inflict. Why waste time and lives if the Japanese could do the job quickly? It was this wise strategy of using one cat's paw after another that allowed the Communists to prevail. There are two uses of the cat's paws: to save appearances and to save energy and effort. The latter case in particular demands that you plan several moves ahead, realizing that a temporary move backwards, like letting Chiang go, can lead to a giant leap forward. If you are temporarily weakened and need time to recover, it will often serve you well to use those around you, both as a screen to hide your intentions and as a cat's paw to do your dirty work for you. Look for a powerful third party who shares an enemy with you, and then take advantage of their strength to deal blows which would have cost you much more energy. You can even guide them into hostilities. Always search out the overly aggressive as potential cat's paws. They are often more than willing to get into a fight, and you can choose just the right fight for your purposes. So before we move on to the second story time here, I need your help with YouTube's algorithm. Please simply engage with this video. Things like smashing the thumbs up button, subscribing, commenting, and sharing the video with your friends on your social networks really do help me out a lot. And if you want to transform yourself from a lamb to a lion, then check out my course pinned in the top comment below. I will teach you the tools that you need for success, but you have to actually step up and put the work in on yourself. This course is not for everyone because the majority of the population are sheep, but for those very few of us who do want to walk the path of a lion, this is the course for you. Okay, so once upon a time, in the year 59 BC, the future Queen Cleopatra of Egypt, then only 10 years old, witnessed the overthrowing and banishment of her father, Ptolemy XII, at the hands of his eldest daughters, Cleopatra's own sisters. You see, one of these girls, Berenice, emerged as the leader of the rebellion, and to ensure that she would now rule Egypt alone, she imprisoned her other sisters and murdered her own husband. This may have been necessary as a practical step to secure her rule, but that a member of the royal family, a queen no less, would execute such violence against her own family truly horrified the Egyptian people, and it stirred up a powerful opposition. 4 years later, this opposition was able to return Ptolemy to power, and he promptly had Berenice and the other elder sisters beheaded. In 51 BC, Ptolemy died, leaving 4 remaining children as heirs. And as was the tradition in Egypt, the eldest son, Ptolemy XIII, who was only 10 years old at the time, married the elder sister, Cleopatra, now 18, and the couple took the throne together as king and queen. None of the siblings were really satisfied with this. Everyone, including Cleopatra, wanted more power. So a struggle emerged between Cleopatra and Ptolemy, each trying to push the other to the side. With the help of a government faction that feared Cleopatra's ambitions, Ptolemy was finally able to force his sister to flee the country, leaving himself as the sole ruler. While in exile, Cleopatra schemed. She wanted to rule alone, and she wanted to restore Egypt to its past glory, a goal she felt none of her other siblings could achieve. Yet, as long as they were alive, she could not realize her dream, and the example of Berenice had made it clear that no one would serve a queen who was seen murdering her own family. So what Cleopatra needed was a cat's paw, a minion to do her bidding. Within a year of Cleopatra's banishment, the Roman dictator Julius Caesar arrived in Egypt, and he was determined to make the country a Roman colony, and that is when Cleopatra saw her chance. She re-entered Egypt in disguise and traveled hundreds of miles to reach Caesar in Alexandria. Legend has it that she had herself smuggled into his presence, rolled up inside a nice little carpet, which was gracefully unrolled at his feet. Cleopatra immediately went to work on Caesar. She appealed to his love of spectacle and his interest in Egyptian history, and she poured on her feminine charms. Caesar soon succumbed and fell into Cleopatra's clutches, and he restored her to the throne. Cleopatra's siblings seethed with anger. She had outmaneuvered them all. Ptolemy XIII would not wait to see what happens next. From his place in Alexandria, he summoned a great army to march on the city and attack Caesar, and in response, Caesar immediately put Ptolemy and the rest of the family under house arrest. But Cleopatra's younger sister, Arsinoe, escaped from the palace and placed herself at the head of the approaching Egyptian troops, proclaiming herself Queen of Egypt. Now Cleopatra finally saw her chance. She convinced Caesar to release Ptolemy from house arrest under the agreement that he would broker a truce. Of course, she knew he would do the opposite, that he would fight Arsinoe for control of the Egyptian army. But this was to Cleopatra's benefit, for it would divide the royal family. Better still, it would give Caesar the chance to defeat and kill her siblings in battle. Reinforced by troops from Rome, Caesar swiftly defeated the rebels. In the Egyptians' retreat, Ptolemy drowned in the Nile. Caesar captured Arsinoe and had her sent to Rome as a prisoner. He also executed the numerous enemies who had conspired against Cleopatra and imprisoned others who had opposed her. To reinforce her position as uncontested queen, Cleopatra now married the only sibling left, Ptolemy XIV, only 11 years old at the time and the weakest of the siblings. 4 years later, this Ptolemy mysteriously died of poison. Then, in 41 BC, Cleopatra worked her charms on a second Roman leader, Mark Antony. After seducing him, she hinted to him that her sister Arsinoe, still a prisoner in Rome, had conspired to destroy him. Mark Antony believed her and promptly had Arsinoe executed, thereby getting rid of the last of the siblings who had posed a threat to Cleopatra. Okay, so how do we interpret this? Legend has it that Cleopatra succeeded through her seductive charms, but in reality, her power came from an ability to get people to do her bidding without them realizing that they were being manipulated. You know what I'm saying? Caesar and Antony not only rid her of her most dangerous siblings, Ptolemy XIII and Arsinoe, but they decimated all of her enemies in both the government and in the military. The two Roman leaders became Cleopatra's cat's paws. They entered the fire for her and did the ugly but necessary work while shielding her from appearing as the destroyer of her siblings and fellow Egyptians. In the end, both men submitted to her desire to rule Egypt not as a Roman colony, but as an independent, allied kingdom. They did all of this for her without realizing how she had manipulated them. This was persuasion of the subtlest and most powerful kind. Cleopatra was truly a powerful woman, perhaps one of the most powerful in history. So if you're a man watching this, take note and beware the power of seductive women. Remember, a queen must never dirty her hands with ugly tasks, nor can a king appear in public with blood on his face. Yet, power cannot survive without the constant squashing of enemies. There will always be dirty little tasks that have to be done to keep you on the throne. And like Cleopatra, you need a scapegoat, a cat's paw. This will usually be a person from outside of your immediate circle, who will therefore be unlikely to realize how he or she is being used. You will find these fools everywhere. People who enjoy doing you favors, especially if you throw them a minimal bone or two in exchange. But as they accomplish tasks that may seem to them innocent enough, or at least completely justified, they are actually clearing the field for you, spreading the information you feed them, undermining people they do not realize are your rivals, inadvertently furthering your cause, dirtying their hands while yours remain spotless. As a leader, you may imagine that constant effort and the appearance of working harder than anyone else signifies power, but in reality though, those characteristics have the opposite effect. They imply weakness. Yes, you do have to work extremely hard and extremely smart to achieve your goals in life, but you do not want to advertise this fact to the outside world, because they will all be thinking, hey, why is that guy working so hard? Perhaps you're incompetent, and perhaps you have to put in extra effort just to keep up. So when it comes to doing dirty work, the truly powerful find a cat's paw. You may believe that by taking on the dirty work yourself, involving yourself directly in unpleasant actions, you impose your power and instill fear. In fact, however, you make yourself look ugly and abusive of your high position. Truly powerful people keep their hands clean. Only good things surround them, and the only announcements they make are of glorious achievements. So before we close, I want you to keep in mind though that the cat's paw or the scapegoat must be used with extreme caution and delicacy. They are like screens that hide your own involvement in dirty work from the public. But if at any moment the screen is lifted and you are seen as the manipulator or the puppet master, then the whole dynamic turns around. Your hand will be seen everywhere, and you will be blamed for things that you may have had nothing to do with. Once the truth is revealed, events will snowball beyond your control. Use this law with extreme care. If you like my YouTube content and you want to support me and the creation of more content, then please check out my Patreon link pinned in the top comment below. I upload new videos every Friday for my Patreon subscribers that go deeper into my life regarding the 48 laws. These videos are a bit more raw and untamed than my usual videos here on YouTube. And if you're a patron of mine already, then I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because it's people like you that truly make all of this content even possible in the first place. I hope you enjoyed this animated video on Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power. Law number 26. Keep your hands clean by making others do the dirty work for you. And remember, you only retain about 10% of what you learned the first time around. So watch this video through a few times and then come back to it again and again in order to really understand and ingrain all of the material into your mind. Thanks, and I'll see you next time for Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power, Law number 27.